starting, buddy. Red button, red lights on. Okay. On air. I should get like a sign out there at the door that has the on-air button or the on-air light.
I'll just pretend to talk to people the whole time. Wait.
Studio audience.
Yeah.
Wes, how we doing, buddy? I'm going to show everyone the war room angle. There it is. War room angle.
The war room?
We're making things happen in here. This is where like all the trades happen, all the draft picks, all those things. How are your draft picks looking right now in your band? Your band, you feeling good about it? Any trades coming up?
I'd say strong to quite strong.
Yeah, good. I know that the trade deadline's coming up for just bands out there. I know some guys are a little nervous in the band, but it sounds like everything's good.
I think nerves, it's a good thing. And when the draft's rolling around and you're like, hey, should I show up on time?
Yeah.
Should I show up sober?
Mm-hmm. All these things, you like some of those things. There's timing-wise, it just depends on what's happening.
I don't want somebody relaxed right now. I want them to make me think they actually care. Yeah, they're coming on board. So yeah.
Well, Wes Liston here, in the flesh. Appreciate you being here, buddy. Local Charleston. I mean, from the upstate of South Carolina, but the local now is Charleston's your home. And I know that you've been on our Barely Live podcast before.
What a group of guys. What a group of gentlemen.
Not that this isn't going to be entertaining, but that was a little bit different level of kind of, let's have a sit down. That's more of a stand up. This is a sit down. And
I like that.
But I appreciate you kind of being on this journey with me. As I was just telling you a second ago, this is kind of a new portal for me to kind of dive into music, art, fishing, and food, Charleston culture, basically. Everything that I moved to Charleston for, and you're part of that. So thanks for being part of that.
Thank you for having me in.
I know that music's kind of your main thing, and all those little things I just mentioned, music, art, fishing, but you're an outdoors guy too. You're fishing dude, outdoorsy.
I am. Like I said, I grew up in Spartanburg County, so freshwater.
Yeah.
With
cool
bass.
Freshwater.
Yeah, cool freshwater. Brim and bass, catfish, stuff like that. But I still like to fish. Still, I've done a little saltwater fishing out here with red and flounder and things like that with over the past few years. And then I always said my brother and I never really got serious enough like with hunting and fishing that we were doing it every day it really, because we were doing so many other things, but we did it enough to kind of share the culture and appreciate it. Yeah.
So you were probably more on the enjoyment side. You didn't do it enough to get too serious, but you did it enough to have it be fun. Right.
Like we always say, we're never going to put urine on our boots.
For hunting.
Yeah. We're not going to do that. No. But we are going to go take a deer or turkey and be involved, annually with hunting and fishing for sure. Yeah.
So growing up in that part of the state, was there a different different culture as far as what music hit you first and like what you kind of grew up listening to?
I think, what's funny is yes and no. Like, I mean, where you're from, there is an expectation. Like you're from Tech, there's an expectation, especially when you're paying homage to the people who came before you and like been to the mountaintop. So I'll answer it two ways. In one way, growing up there in the upstate of South Carolina, I was told and taught like Marshall Tucker Band.
Yeah.
Because Marshall Tucker Band went to the mountaintop and was just universally great. And so I have an appreciation for Southern rock, or whatever it was they were doing. Yeah, they were really cool. Yeah.
Definitely, they explored a lot of different things.
Sure, I mean,
weird instruments and
it's jazzy.
Yeah, jazzy.
It's Southern jazz. I mean, it's beautiful. So we were exposed to like also Hank Williams Jr. spent some time in that area. And so we were always taken to the places that he liked to, this is where he was hanging out, or he liked to go fish over there. And some of them were like, we felt like maybe were tall tales we didn't know. Yeah. And some of them we knew to be true. And so I think I had to pay close attention to those guys in the upstate of South Carolina, but also I'll answer it by saying that it's whoever's like the biggest influence on you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, my parents loved old soul music. And then there was gospel music. I'm in the Bible Belt up there, and like the old hymns.
Well, when I asked that question, that's kind of what I was assuming, that there might be kind of a in the hills bluegrass gospel kind of a thing going on.
So Greenville County, where my Mimas is from, up there in I call it Blue Ridge, but a lot of Travelers Rest and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Old bluegrass, and then I would say also she loved like Louis Armstrong, like old Louis was playing or Frank Sinatra, like because she was from that time. I had grandparents, I had great grandparents till I was 17, 18 years old. So also, some of the old blues or even like big band stuff, it was whatever they thought when you're being raised by multiple generations like that.
Yeah.
So, some of it was, Marshall Tucker, they're from there. Hank Williams Jr., he spent some time there. But the other was just who I was spending time with.
Yeah. Well, I guess we also have to, dive into the Gritty name. How did Gritty Flyright come about? And that, before I got to know you, I assumed Gritty Flyright was the name of the band.
Right. And
then I got to know you and find out that that's actually your nickname, your AKA.
Well, it is. Starting from where we sit right now in 2024, I think to answer that, there's two parts that like. I've not been doing this for a long time, right? So I would say, let's look at an 8-year span that I've been participating in music professionally. So the first 4 years were part-time. I was a school teacher, guidance counselor here in Charleston County. I was also cleaning carpet. I started my own carpet business.
Oh, really?
And so, started.
I don't think I knew that.
So 7 years, actually if the music wouldn't have taken off to go full time, I would still be doing it.
Gotcha.
But I feel like I was part-time. And I started the whole, 8 years ago. A friend, Brad Elliott from Somerville, put me together with David Kasich, who plays bass currently.
Yeah.
So David and I start out, and we're with Graham Worley, and Graham's been working with me for about a year, pulling me up on stage at his shows and figuring out that I'm starting to mess with music.
You guys were neighbors, right?
We were neighbors on James Island, and he's the catalyst for my professional step into music.
Okay.
So then David, after about a year of me and Graham kind of testing that out, and these are all covers. I'm not writing or anything at the time.
Yeah.
We get a mutual friend, Brad Elliott. He said, I want you to meet David. David ended up living on James Island. He's my other neighbor. He's 1.5 miles away. I'm like, wow. So David and I are like best friends now. And David and I start playing. Graham starts putting him through everything with me. We're kind of this duo, acoustic, very stripped down. And then we're starting to show up as like we don't have a name. This is David Kasich. I'm Wes Liston. We're Wes and Dave.
And it's also cool that you have someone. Obviously, you're probably getting confidence from Graham being kind of this playmaker, if you will, this coach, being like, this guy cares enough and taking the time enough. I must have something.
Changed my life. Was the guy. I could do a whole segment on Graham Worley and his influence on me personally and professionally, because there's not many days that go by that I'm not influenced by him or I don't reference him. Proud to reference. I talked to him a few days ago, still very instrumental in my life. But so Graham's kind of leading the way. He sees how nervous I am. Then he throws me in the fire a little bit. He builds me up. Then here comes David about a year later. He sees how nervous David is.
Yeah.
Throws him in the fire, and then I'm like, dude, I was just there. I get it. I completely get it. And he kind of builds us up. I'm borrowing his guitar. I don't even have a guitar with electronics in it.
Yeah.
And so we get into this thing in that first year, and we're Wes and Dave. When we start building up songs, it's like people start saying, "You want to come to the backyard?" And friends say, "Well, we'll pay you to come play a birthday party." Or somebody's anniversary, or we're having an oyster roast. Y'all want to play? And we're like, well, I think we know maybe 12 songs.
Yeah.
So like, it all starts like that. It's all part-time. It's all covers. And Dave and I are just, kind of Wes and Dave. And then shortly after that, Jamal Hall, who plays saxophone and has a beautiful voice, he joins. So now we're this very interesting acoustic trio, but you've got a saxophone with these two acoustic guys.
Now, are you still kind of mainly playing kind of old soul kind of stuff?
Old
playing
soul.
Yet?
Well, like I said, the Hank Williams Jr., David Allen Coe.
Because Jamal must have seen something. I'm assuming Jamal isn't a big country guy.
Well, that's what's great. So Jamal grew up in Delaware. He moves down to Charleston, but he gets caught up in the Graham Worley effect. Okay. So Graham Worley also has a hand on that.
The Graham Worley effect.
So he's the nucleus. He gets pulled in, like he sees Graham like at a restaurant or downtown, and Graham's like, well, cool, you're new to town, let me put you around some people, some artistic people, and like you've done for me, like just here, I think you might jive with these people. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, like he's dragging Jamal up on stage as I'm doing an old soul cover with Dave or an old country, and it doesn't matter. So this guy plays and sings over all the genres. He ended up being like, it's mega talent. Mm-hmm. So the three of us are going around, and I start like putting it out. I start writing down like, what do you think about this name? They really, they're working their other jobs. I'm working mine, but I'm kind of like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And I'm passing these to Graham too in Virginia, trying to figure out what the name's going to be. It actually comes from, there's a group of people, they were like, the same 12, 15 people that would come out every Tuesday religiously to Brick House Kitchen. And they still come out to shows to this day, like Rex. You've met Rex. He's a great example. So, like, I come off the stage, Rex, Neil, Juke Joint Johnny, all these guys, they come off, they see music, they've been around music, they're really cool people, and they go, you got something there. Y'all have got a little something. And they would always describe the sound as raw and real, like authentic, and I was always flattered by that. So when I sat down and write down, I'm like, you can't look at Dave and I, or Dave, Jamal and I, and say we're the raw and the real. It doesn't, I mean, we don't personally put that off, and the music doesn't put off. So I thought gritty was, people have allowed gritty to be accepted, and it's positive.
Sure.
There's positive energy that follows the word. If someone's got grit or it's gritty, I mean, it's nasty, it's dirty, it's raw, it's not sexy, but it's been allowed to the other side.
There's definitely a positive about it, yeah.
Yeah.
It sets someone out a little bit if they're gritty. Oh, that gets people's attention.
Sure. And so I liked gritty for that. And then Flyright's just a word that my grandfather used all the time. It's like an old school word, to be honest, to be true, to be authentic. And so gritty Flyright kind of, and I was drawing that, I drew that little feather up, and I'm sending this all. And what Graham stopped me in the road. I knew where I was when it happened. I was on my road there, and I go by his house. We're always trash talking, whatever. And I go, hey, I'm down to like three names, and I pull out a piece of paper and I show it to him, and he goes, that one. And I was like, gritty Flyer. He goes, and I'm going to tell you why. He said, because you will become that person. Like, you will become, and I laughed him off.
Like stepping in a costume, kind of.
It was. He was like, you will become gritty Flyright, because especially he talked about writing. He started speaking stuff on me like, you're a great writer. I wasn't even really writing at the time. I'd share with him some stuff, some personal notes stuff, but he just saw like the different arrangements with covers. And so now I'm like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to be a writer. Oh, that could be something. But I kind of laughed him off, and he was like, you think about Jethro Tull or Citizen Cope, or probably 30% of artists, even mainstream artists, that you're like, that's not their name. Yeah. That's a moniker or a handle, however you want to say it. And he said that I mean, years ago. I mean, that probably has been maybe 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And then slowly what happened was we kept picking up with like, hey, we got into Ben, Boyd, Noah. We become this full band.
Yeah.
And so for a while, it was kind of like, and there was, I mean, I've played with probably 13, 14 different people in the music family. I call everybody the music family now because it's more of a collect. It's, you know, you might see a different person.
Yeah, you don't want to be nailed down because someone might come wanting to see Jamal, be like, well, you said.
Oh, and you hear that and you get that. I think in a perfect world, you would be like, no, these are the members and there's no one else. And if not, and we all get together twice a week and we all do all the stuff. But the reality is I was becoming this singer-songwriter, and I don't think it became official until two things. One, I started writing original music. So I started writing in my shed in the backyard. And then I started full-time. So I put out that music publicly as Gritty Flyright. And then I started playing solo shows. Yeah. And this is 4 years. This is like 2020. And so for the last 4 years, that's probably been the shift is like, you know, Gritty Flyright, if I show up. But yeah, you talk about being disappointed. I'm still working on like making sure that the expectations are, look, if you're coming to a Gritty Flyright show, you know, he might be playing in like a singer-songwriter. It's just an acoustic show. Sometimes it might be special guest Paul Puckett. You're sitting in with me and noodling along, but at least they know. And then if you see Gritty Flyright and the music family, you understand that you're getting some version of a full band.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely. So looking here at your Spotify page, what was so you had a first kind of EP thing going on? Let's see. I mean, I'm familiar with this album, Tales of the Famously Unknown. Did you have like an earlier?
So I started with a single. Statesman's Plea was the first song that I ever published.
Okay. Gotcha.
I've done all my recording with Studio 101, which is up in Spartanburg County. You know, you go home. Like, I ended up going home, and I didn't even grow up playing music up in Spartanburg County. So they're like, oh, Wes, I didn't even know you did music. I said, well, I didn't. You know, I didn't. This is a new thing. So
you're like, did you go present your new self up there in the mountains? I am now Gritty Flyright.
Well, that's what's funny is like, you know, there's certain people that will never refer to me as Gritty or Gritty Flyright. That's kind of my wife. Her name is Virginia, but you know, she went the first 20-something years of her life as Jenny.
Okay.
So she's Jenny to the old school, and she's Virginia to the new school. So with me, it's kind of like up there, like, wow, Wes, I didn't realize. And Brad Phillips and Ian Guthrie started me out up at Studio 101, and I've stuck with them because I love working with those guys, and they've put a lot of time into me, into like, okay, this guy's green. This guy's very green to recording and the jargon, like the certain spoken and unspoken things that you do when you're putting out a record or a song. And so it was a single. Then it was a Tripping Through the Fall was another single. Spartanburg County Bound was a third single that I wrote, and I think that was in 21. After that, Ian Guthrie looks at me and goes, I know you're like fascinated that you're putting out music now. I was like, yeah, I never thought I'd play music. I never thought I'd write music or put out. He goes, you can't just keep putting, I mean, you can, but he's like, you might want to consider putting out a record. And I was like,
oh, because you were putting out single, like, songs.
Yeah, I put out Statesman's Plea. I put out Tripping Through the Fall. I put out Spartanburg County Bound. Now you've got 3 singles, and they're all just the Feather logo. If you find them isolated by themselves, I ended up putting them on the record.
Yeah, they are.
But they're also out there, and they're from 2020 and 2021. And he goes, I think you ought to put a record. And I told my wife, I was like, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're about to put an album out.
Yeah.
And that was wild. So we, ended up writing through 21 and finished up the beginning of 22, and put a record out. It was.
Well, what's it like to have let's just say you went into that studio, you already had 3 or 4 songs that you had released as singles. So let's say you have 4 or 5 new songs that are kind of, you think, let's just call them 85% complete. You're leaving 15% of it room for improvement or change. Let's just take one song, for example. You go into a recording studio with a producer.
Right.
I've never experienced this, so I'm honestly asking because I want to know what this is like. You take a song in there. How much of that song is getting, all right, no, let's switch this around. Let's do this. Let's add this. Let's maybe elongate this. Is there a lot of that involved where you're like, it's not a totally new song, but it's like, oh my God, how did I not think of that myself? Like, what is that producer doing to that song that kind of makes the magic happen?
That's a great question. I hate to give you the multi-layered answer, but it does. Yeah, so it does depend. So like,
okay.
And it depends on the song. It depends on 2 things. What's the trust? What's the relationship? Or what are you bringing to the table? Like, are you an awesome guitar player and you want to cut every single lead and every single thing on your own track? Like, do you want to bring in some of your live guy? Like, sometimes I'm playing some of the acoustic stuff. Sometimes Noah's cut some electric stuff. Or do you want to bring in other guys up there for studio for the project? Mm-hmm. As far as, I think, so the answer one way is, how much trust do you have in a Brad Phillips or an Ian Guthrie? And like, Ian Guthrie's now cut, I guess, 11 of my 14 now songs that have been published. And I have a high level of trust in him as a friend and as a producer, as an engineer, whatever, and as a musician. So one of it is, so with him, he has his stamp on a lot of the songs. Now, second part I want to say is it depends. A song like Sober Side of You, it's very personal to me. It's the fastest song I've ever written. Like, a lot of people crank out songs in an hour or 2 hours in a day. You know, they do a write or whatever. I don't do that. A lot of my stuff, I'm by myself, and it might take me 3 months to write a song.
Yeah.
With Sober Side of You, it took me like 3 days. So take that one. You go in there with that one, you say, this one just came out of me. Yeah. It's done. Here's what I want. I've got a vision. Like
you ain't touching it.
Right. Well, it's kind of like it's like a piece of art that you have. You're like, nah, that one's there. It's buttoned up pretty good. Yeah. I just need like you to put the wrap around it.
Yeah.
And he knows that, and I can tell him, I'm like, this one, I want it to do this. Another thing too, it depends on who you're working with. Like, Ian understands that he and I are not always going to agree, and also his stamp is not like he's great, because some people, if I took a song and I took it to a certain producer, like somebody who produced like Pitbull.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Then it's gonna sound kind of like that. You know, if I took it to Carrie Underwood's producer, then it's gonna have a little bit of Carrie. Whereas with Ian, he knows that like I might come at him with some outlaw country sound, then I might come with him with like an 80s, 90s country sound, then I might come with an R&B sound, and he's gonna have to stop, and he's never put too much of this like production stamp on it. Mm-hmm. And that way you're still serving the song.
Yeah.
And you're serving, in my case,
he's gotten
the
to
story.
know you well enough to know you're probably coming in with a pretty good sense already of what you want this song to sound like. And this is more of a general question, this might not even pertain to your experience, but at what point does a producer take a song and then have to write his name on the thing as a co-writer? Like, what has to happen for that to happen? And you probably haven't experienced that, but maybe you have. But I've always wondered that in the world of music and writers and producers.
I think that's interesting. Another good question, because Ian has his hands in my songs. Like I said, some more than others.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that comes down to two things. One, I think money, financially. Like, if you're paying somebody to do a service, then that removes their name off of like a writing credit or a royalty opportunity or whatever.
Okay.
Whereas if they're like, no, I would like the option of producing this track for free, but I'm going to insist that I am a co-writer at this percent. So there's multiple ways to do it.
Okay.
And if most of the time I feel like people are just contracted out. I mean, it depends on how far along. Like Ian and Brad had told me this years ago. They're like, sometimes people come in with a song and it's like, here's the like, take it, make it magic, make it work. And they really have their stamp on a lot of songs.
Yeah.
And they may say, well, or sometimes like somebody's really attached to it. Like if you can break somebody's heart, then they might want to be involved with it. As far as co-writing goes, I've only participated in one actual co-write in my life, which is not like in Nashville. It's happening every day. It's happening with 2 people, 5 people. It's just what you do.
And they don't even end up singing the song on the record.
Well, as I'm learning, like you can write thousands of songs, and some of them aren't even touched. A lot of them are in modern day, or they're recorded on a cell phone, so there's a timestamp.
Yeah.
But for me, with Noah, the guy who plays electric and is a good friend of mine, I've known him since he was like 13 years old. I had the record mostly done. I was like, man, I probably need to put one more song on here. And it was in October of 21. He said, hey, I think you left a chord over here or something. We were doing something. I come over, and he just picks up an acoustic guitar off the wall and goes, hey, I was thinking about this for like a gritty thing. I thought you might like this old song. Boom, 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 boom. And he just does a little thing. I end up just mumble writing. I'm like, oh, yeah. And then you could go like here. And so I said, hey, send that to me by Halloween. And that might... It reminds me of my wife and courting my wife in Columbia. It just took me to a place, like imagery, like art. Well, I was like, no, this is a old school backyard.
Was that Dreaming with Me?
That was Love Made Up My Mind. It ended up being the final track on the record.
It's right there.
So he sends it to me, and we go in, and I write all the lyrics, and he gets credit, and I said, hey, I'm going to give you the option. Do you want me to throw you a little bit of money for the chord progressions in the song because it truly came from you, and I'm using it, or would you like a songwriter's credit? I said, and I'll split it with you. I'll do a pure 50-50 co-write. You get the music, I did the lyrics, whatever. And he's such a music guy, that he's like, oh no, man, I definitely I want the writer's credit. I don't want the money. I want the writer. I said, well, here's how this works. You actually, in the world, to put out music, you got to spend money.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so do you want to like split the cost of the production?
You protect your name on that.
Yeah, I mean, and I was like, if you want your name to be on there, then here's what's going to happen. You're going to have to go in with me 50-50 on, paying the studio time with getting the copyright, getting like ASCAP BMI.
Remember my dad would always talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
At the end of his life, he was doing that CD baby thing.
Yeah.
And recording songs.
Yeah.
And having to do all this ASCAP. He was trying to explain it to me, but it sounds super complicated.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that I guess it's been going on for a while, but a modern day chap would be okay with it for a couple of dinosaurs like you and I. We're kind of like, so you're telling me they're gonna take the now? So there's some of that.
Just like the stuff you were telling me this morning about some of your, we don't have to get into that, but the point is, you kind of took Noah on a learning expedition. He got to learn that side of the music business.
Oh, sure. And then like he ended up going. So he's like, I'll come up with the money. I was like, well, so we worked out. So he goes into it financially to have his name on it. And then I remember it was his birthday. He has a summertime birthday, and I got the copyright back. I got 2 of them. I framed one of them for his birthday. I gave him, it was his first cut. I mean, again, famously unknown. It's not like he got a cut on the Luke Combs record, but at the time he was probably
Well, he's on the
early 20s
record.
No, I'm saying it's not like he was writing with Luke Combs.
Gotcha.
He's writing with Gritty.
I was like,
so
there was a chapter in the story I didn't hear.
No, he wouldn't mess with me if he was doing that, man. What are you talking about? It was like, no, I think this is awesome. He's just a cool dude like that. And so I gave him a frame thing that said, Noah Shue and, Wes Liston co-write.
That's awesome.
And so just to say, and so now he's got a cut on a record.
Yeah.
That's a true co-write that it's got his name legally and all these things. And
the money you would have given him, you would have already spent on beer and whatever else. He likes jewelry. He's a jewelry guy. Beer and jewelry, and it would have been gone now.
Or fans. He likes his mullet to blow a certain way, southwest.
Yeah.
On
stage. Since we're on Noah, you got to tell me that story about when he wanted to kind of step up, because he comes from kind of a rock metal background, right?
Man, he comes from, believe it or not, he's classically trained. So he's like, teenage Noah is classically trained on guitar, has never been really exposed to mainstream radio until a teenager. Like, he's straight theory, classical, and that's what's really, really cool. That's his foundation. And then somewhere, I don't want to misstate it, but like somewhere along the lines of him being, I don't know, 15 or somewhere in those years, like he starts getting into, it's like, oh, this is Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
This is Jimi Hendrix. Or like the blues. I think he really went down the rabbit hole of like the old muddy blues.
That's a fun rabbit hole.
Oh my gosh. So he starts getting into all this stuff. So he does have this appreciation.
It's an excitement level.
Oh,
probably.
You should, and he was born on Folly Beach. And then he's been raised on Folly Beach and then James Island mostly.
Okay.
And so this kid, man, he's long hair and like very chill, and like his family's so cool and appreciative of music and art. But Noah, when I met him and he started getting into it, he would come to Gritty shows. He was in his own. When he was 17, he would like play a bowl, and he'd be in like this rock band, and he's playing electric guitar, and he's rocking.
It's loud.
And then all of a sudden we start that trio that I talked about with Jamal and David. It's like, Noah's like, let me know if you ever, and he's like 19, I guess at the time. He's like, let me know if you ever can use me in any way. And he starts playing bass for us.
Oh, really?
So he's the bass player, and that's why we call him Slappy. Yeah, so that's where the name Slappy comes from. And then we get Ben Harrison on drums, and then Boyd Richardson on fiddle. And then, that's how cool the music family is. Like, what you see now, like our best foot forward, you see Noah playing electric guitar because somebody like David sees that and goes, wow, like, we got to get him. Like, literally, that's what happened. Like, we got to get
the best guy needs to shine with their.
Well, Noah was waking up. To this day, he plays every day. He plays every day on electric guitar and has great leads and tone and stuff. And David has been playing like rhythm guitar for 20-something years. Yeah. He is our clock. He keeps the time on.
That's how I am. Like, I'm a rhythm guy. And if someone else were to come in and, hey, yeah, you can play bass, but it's clear that they're a lot better than me on rhythm and lead. It's like, all right, I'll take the bass.
I think that was one of the coolest moments of my journey and being around those guys and playing full band stuff is David saying, I'm going to play bass. David can play piano. David can sing. He's one of those guys.
He's just a musician.
He's a true musician, and he loves music enough, and I think he cares about the gritty stuff enough to where he was going to be the bass player. And matter of fact, he's an incredible bass player. Mm-hmm. So now he plays upright. He can play electric. But he's developed his own, and his mannerisms are different. We always say, like, he's always been a timekeeper on that acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
To see him on the bass, he's actually more pronounced. He's louder, than his acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
So now he's louder. he's that lower range. He's in there with the kick drum, right? And he's the lowest. He's the basement. And if you look at, there's videos of David when he was playing acoustic guitar versus David playing bass. He moves freely now. Mm-hmm. He actually is in the song and in the moment.
Well, he has a real unique hold to the bass, the electric bass too. Like I could tell him from a mile away, oh, that's David. Yeah, just the way he holds it. It's just.
I think he's taken over that instrument, and he kind of had to find his way with it. But no, that's always a hats off to
Well, I've got, I could ask you a few stories that I've heard from your crew. I think it's funny. I like the Boyd story about how Boyd started playing fiddle with you guys. Can you kind of tell that story?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he might be coming in the window today to speak for himself, but no.
When he sees us, he's going to be mad at us that we didn't invite him to. Sorry, Boyd.
Oh yeah,
wherever you are.
Yeah, we're lucky to have Boyd as well because.
And that's how I know you too.
Yes, but I mean,
Boyd sent me a text or an email. It's like, you got to come check our music out.
Oh, now when I say urine on the boots, now hook in the hat, urine on the boots. Yeah, Boyd Richardson. Yeah. I mean, he's both feet in.
Hook on the hat.
He's your buddy. Like he's your guy that right now you're like, we're going out. Mm-hmm. We're going out to talk about going out.
I'm like 0 for 3 though on his last 3 invites he's given me, and just can't nail it down.
Listen, he's great. He came. Yeah, I'm thankful that he introduced us. And Boyd shows up to a gig. We were out on Daniel Island, and his folks live out in Murrells Inlet, so they come up. And at the time, it's his girlfriend Madison, now his wife. I think he was about to propose to her, but this was, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And he shows up to a gig that we're doing, and we're a 5-piece. And
at the brewery? Y'all playing at that brewery?
We were out at it was called Dockery's.
Okay.
It was called Dockery's. And we would do these little events out there. We have an opener. We'd all be in our blue suits and boots and hats, and they'd dim the lights, and it was really cool. So he comes out and he tells the story that my parents are in town, my dad's in town, and we want to go out to eat, and Madison and this and that. So they're there sitting at a table, and his dad says, "Oh, I didn't know there was going to be music. We might have to go to another place, or we might have to move to another." It's like, hey, when it started, he just didn't want to be around it. And we started playing, and he was like, okay, no, man, we can hang around a little bit. They're not destroying my ear right now. So they hang around.
Sometimes when I play, I kind of feel sorry for the people that are right there, because I know that they're going through that option.
Oh yeah. Oh no. He said we almost lost, and then we hang around here, and he's kind of looking like, hey, these guys aren't bad. And then he said, then you played like Jim Croce, and my dad was like complete fan. He had gone from I think we need to leave to I'm a complete fan, and we stay the whole show. And then they come up, and Boyd, he's not going to say anything. He's just like, I really enjoyed the show. That was great job, guys. Well then, but his dad and Madison were advocating for him, and I'm glad they did. They're like, Boyd plays music. I'm like, oh really? I'm like, you want to step out, man? You should have let me know. He's like, no. Turns out this guy was raised in Florence, but went to the governor's school up in Greenville for violin. He's played all around the world. And
once again, a classic background, right?
Classic background. A head player, with violin, very technical posture. You can see everything. If you see him playing classical music, it's awesome. But he says, yeah, I did this, and he went to Walford, and he said, I was in this little bluegrass project, but nothing really serious. And so he's at the time he was selling insurance. And I was like, well, listen, man, if you ever want to get together, if you want to come hang out with the guys and just see what it's like. And he finally took us up on that, and all of a sudden, so that's why you talking about spotting him from a mile away. If you really watch him, he has his own style, because he's, for the last 5 or 6 years, he's gone from this classically trained violinist to a fiddle player. I've watered him down.
He's got breeches and boots on now when he plays. That's the difference between the violin and the fiddle. It's not how it sounds; it's about what you wear when you play it.
I think so. I mean, you can't, he can't be up there in a tuxedo, clean shaved face. I mean,
hook in a hat, breeches, t-shirt.
We encourage hook in the hat, boots. A mustache if possible, but at least a beard.
Now he's a fiddle player.
But you can see, man, that classic background. I always ask him, like, what's the biggest? He's like, for me, he said, I appreciate the classical background because you have to read what everybody else is doing at all time. It's just programmed in you. All the transitions, when a measure or a bar, when it's about to be up. And so if you watch Boyd play, he is dialed into everybody at all times, which if you're a live performer, that's critical.
Yeah.
If a guy's lost in his own and you're happy for him, you're like, nah, dude, we were supposed to be out of there.
He's used to ensemble, not band. Dude. Now he's in a band. You just gritted him up.
I've gritted him up. I've watered him down and gritted him up.
Well, let's talk about the old Sunday Supper Club. So at the old Frontier Lounge, you're in month. Let me guess, 8 on this.
You're on it, dude. It's about to be the 8th one coming up on the 11th of August.
And I call it the Sunday Sawdust Supper Club. It is on Sunday though.
It is on Sundays. We're committed to Sundays. Sunday's a tough date. You find out if you go into a place, and Frontier is awesome. It's the choice place, and Neil is great down there. But like having a built-in crowd, you're going to find that on Friday and Saturday. Like the layup is Friday and Saturday. Whereas with this, it's not necessarily about tapping into something that's existing. I don't think there's something like this in Charleston. Matter of fact, there is nothing like this in Charleston. Sawdust Supper Club. It's one of one. And when you're trying to do something and you're trying to be creative and you're not just trying to replicate something, it sometimes takes longer, or you get the eye roll, or people are like, why are you doing this on a Sunday? It's going to take a while. And it is. And so we're sticking to Sundays. A lot of them have been second Sundays because they block off King Street there, but we're not loyal to second Sunday. We're just loyal to Sunday from 6 to 9.
I think that's a good guideline though. Hey, normally it is going to be second Sundays, but sometimes things come up, and I forget what the last few things have been, but the next one is a second Sunday, right?
It is. The 11th is a second Sunday. So if you are...
August 11th, 2024, Frontier Lounge, right across from Marion Square.
I mean,
it's a cool place.
It's a great location, and some of the things that you see down there are, we do have a little sawdust pit in the back with the James Island Cowboys. So Desmond's back. If you want to learn how to rope or throw horseshoes, we're trying to do all authentic cowboy things with real cowboys here in the area. A lot of people don't know about the James Island Cowboys, but they taught my oldest son to ride down Soul Agree, and they're a great group. And so when it's not so hot, you've been down there, you've been on a horse yourself. Like if you want to take a ride.
It was like 5th grade. It was, I'm not going to say, it wasn't scary. It was just very unstable.
You were natural.
It felt like, because you feel this rickety, like, oh my God.
You're cool. At the mercy of the 1,000-pound animal. It's great. They bring a couple horses down, and Desmond, if you want to take a picture on a horse, if you want to pet the horse, if you want to ride the horse. And what's interesting, people don't believe this, we're riding horses around Marion Square.
Yeah.
We're downtown on the peninsula, and I think just the novelty of that is wonderful. And it's been a little hot, so we've not brought them. So you're going to see there's still the pit in the back. There's usually 2. It's for country music. I'm trying to do something for country music here in Charleston. So you're going to see a special guest kick off the show at 6, and then around 7 you're going to see the headliner come on. We've got Captain Benjamin Young in the back, who is cooking up. He's going to have barbecue and a side. And then we've got Steel Hands. We've got their beer being carried. I love Steel Hands Brewer, and it's a $5 pint, and we're running their IPA right now. So the menu, I told my wife, it's like we got to get like an actual physical menu too. But the menu is, the drink is, we're running a drink special. We've got the food, and then the music is on the house.
There you go.
You know, like music is sponsored. You know, Anthony's Barbershop, James Island Dental Associates, and Steel Hands are the three major sponsors, and they're all my friends. I got lucky because people exactly like yourself have invested in the supper club and want to see it do well and want to enjoy it once a month. And
it's funny because I've missed the last couple, and honestly, like, I could feel it.
You don't sleep well, do you?
I hated the fact that I missed it. I was out of town, and next week is a ride for me. Like, I'm going to take advantage of this moment. Like, next week I'm playing Barn Jam, which I'm pumped about.
Nice. Eddie White?
Yeah.
Right on.
Green, and then Saturday night playing Royal American. Normally I have my Friday night Martin's gig then. I'm going to have to... I'm not...
Why did I not know about this?
I'm not like you. I can't play like 3 nights a week.
No, I don't. Why do I not know about these?
Well, you do.
I mean, I'm bringing the bullhorn in there.
You play so much music. The last thing I'm going to do is hound you down with some stress level where now you feel like you need to be at Royal American.
No, it's a
Marshware event. They're having their...
I like Logan.
Yeah.
I like Logan and Julia. So
now you know. And then Sunday night is Sawdust.
So what's the date on that? And don't say
10th, I think.
I'm in Nashville. Why do you do this, Paul Puckett?
Maybe that's why I never told you, because I knew you were.
You do Martin's. You do all these shows. You're like, hey, got a little something going on, maybe no pressure, whatever. And I'm like, playing a gig in so and so.
Yeah. Well, you're going to Nashville. What are you doing on Nash Vegas? Besides going to Robert's Western World.
I have my friend has done a great thing. Nikki Lane has given my wife and I 2 passes to come see her open up for Chris Stapleton.
Yeah, cool.
And so we're going up, and it's my wife's birthday, and hopefully I can meet up with a couple of other people in the game while I'm up there. But
I mean, isn't that a huge part of this business, is just meeting the right people on the right night, kind of accidentally, like in a natural way? Like,
I think so. I think there's a songwriting world out there where people are kind of beating out. They're constantly writing and writing. Oh, I'm doing right with this. I'm doing right with that. And then there's the other, like, you go to eat a sandwich with somebody. Mm-hmm. You develop a relationship with somebody, but I will say, like, that whole game is like not just how much money you got or who you know. Truly, the timing has to be. There can be 3 people, and there could be 3 other people sitting around this table right now, and you could play a song off the record, and they might be, one of them might say, it's not hitting me. I got to go anyway. Thank y'all. Nice to see you. The next guy might go, I think there's something there, but I'm too busy right now. Yeah. And the third guy, you might get lucky and go, you know what? I'm looking for something like this, or my business partner is looking for something just like this, and you take another step. But like, there is no silver bullet or whatever you want to call it.
Well, I think so many people that I've known go, Paul, you're just so lucky. No, I've honestly worked hard at putting myself in the right situation at the right time, being out there on a social whatever, and you meet people. You're putting and I think, I would imagine music has to be that way, where you eventually you're going to meet the right person that's going to help you do the next step. And I think that, I mean, I'm sure you've already done, clearly the people and characters you talked about today are those people that have gotten you right here today, Well, I think I've taken a chapter out of your book. I think since you and I have met, I've watched, could be just the Texas chill about you, but I get, me, I'm like very, the nicest way to say it, my wife would probably use other adjectives, but I'm very passionate and very jacked up about something, and I can like hyper focus on something, like this has got to be the home run, then it's going to be a grand slam, and when we hit the grand slam, we're going to find the ball and get it signed for the kid and everything.
Whereas if you do that, you ride this wave of up and down and this.
Yep.
And I think there's what I've tried to do, even as of recent, is something that I work at is you have to make your own noise. I thought about writing a song that was just like, not saying like making noise. I mean, it's been used so many times, but something along the lines of what you've done. You've gone out and you're creating. You have your own path. You have your own work and play and this and family, and you're going down that path, and it's putting off rings, right? It's putting off the ripple, right? Since you're a fisherman, and all of a sudden, the ripple it interlocks with somebody who goes, "Wait a minute." Somebody's doing something over in that boat. I'm going to go over. There's a light on over there, that looks like, or a restaurant. It's like having a restaurant, and you see the garage doors up, and there's people out drinking. You're like, something's going on there.
Yeah.
And so I think I've tried to take, and you felt me balance that, like with some of the projects that I have. It's like, just chill, just continue to serve the music.
Yeah.
Like in my art, it's just the songwriting and the performing. Just do that, and don't worry about how far you're going to go or what amount of time. Give yourself a little bit of grace to enjoy your life.
I think from what I do and from what you do, the biggest lesson I'm going to teach my daughter is do whatever you love doing and do it better than anyone else. But because eventually, if you do that, it'll work out, I think. It might take till you're 50, whatever, but you're going to love the last 20 years of your life doing something you loved. You're going to go through some hard times, but it's always going to pay off if you do what you love and work hard at it every day. And I feel like that's what you're doing. I know that you came to the party a little later than a lot of musicians, but you're, at the end of the day, you're at the party and you're working hard at it. And I'm pumped about just the little chapters I've seen you since I've known you for this short amount of time. So I know we're starting to kind of ease out of here, but say you're going to be up in upstate in a few weeks for another event.
So releasing an EP, it's a 4-track EP. It's called Tide, and I was fortunate enough to have you create some art for it.
It was cool.
It means it's very special, very personalized art. So excited to put that into the world and share that.
Actually, I do have it here.
But yeah, I mean that's
the boys.
That's the boys.
Yeah.
And I mean the song Tide. It's one of the singles on there. And I ended up naming the track with this because it's just about my relationship with them, and as a parent, maybe people can gravitate towards this, and how there's this intangible bond that you're tied to your family or a friend or a child, and even beyond this life that we know.
Yeah.
Then just an expression of love to them. But I'm going to be up in my favorite establishment. And I'm trying to get you up there.
I'm planning on going.
If you're not playing at Royal or on no, it's Tap 3. Shameless plug. Ben Harrison, Tap 3. It's up in Woodruff, South Carolina, and I try to go up there. I mean, I don't know. I don't get up there enough, but he's got a really cool spot. We're going to release. That's when everything's going to go live on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, and all that. So we like to celebrate and play. And so that's the 23rd, Friday, August 23rd in Woodruff, South Carolina, EP release party. And I've been told that the Highway Queen is going to be crashing the party.
Awesome.
So that would be cool if Nikki Lane.
And it's kind of the night before Marcus King's big weekend kind of happens up there.
Yeah, if you're looking to get into something too, she and Sierra Farrell, 49 Winchester, a lot of great acts are playing Marcus King's family reunion. That's a 2-day thing. It's Saturday and Sunday. So a lot of talented people are going to be in the upstate of South Carolina, just 200 miles from Charleston. If you're looking for something to do, we got a Friday, Saturday, Sunday situation there. Yeah.
A situation. I love situations.
Yeah.
And then other than that, Sawdust Supper Club, the August 11th.
August 11th. So I'm in Nashville. I'm going to be flying in. I will be there.
Oh, you're such a just.
I will be flying in. I wish I was there. No,
private plane service.
No, it won't be. It won't be that. No, that's Chance Howland. Chance Howland's from Hartsville, South Carolina. He looks, sounds, and talks like Waylon Jennings, and I mean that in all the positive ways. But he also writes his own music. So he's going to be a great fit in Frontier because it's going honky tonk.
Yeah,
full band. Chance Howland, it can back it up. He's an authentic cowboy. Which is what we're trying to represent at the Supper Club. And then my friend Veli Harrington is an upstate gentleman, and he kind of reminds me of a John Prine. He's folky Americana country, but he's 6'4", tall drink of water, Yeah. And he's going to come in there with the cowboy and do some storytelling. Both of those guys are very talented, and I'm excited to have them on the bill for the 11th, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, buddy. Appreciate the time.
Hey, man.
Stay gritty.
Stay gritty?
Yeah.
Do y'all do handshakes, or is there a secret pound? What do? You just kind of do an awkward touch?
Get them.
Appreciate your vote in November. High five? Yeah. That's what.
I have one sip left. Yeah, steak 5:30. All right, buddy.
Thank you. Paul Bucket for president.
Couldn't cut me loose from our love if they tried. And you should know, remain to hold, never break the line. It's okay to let me go, son, we're tired. All grown up, his turn to go, and the hardest thing a boy had ever known, he cried. Daddy, I have always had you by my side. He said, son, I know it's hard to drive away, but even when you have to leave this place, we're tied. Couldn't cut me loose from our love if they tried. You should know we're made to hold and never break the line. It's okay to let me go, son, we're tied. And they held on to love they knew and never come undone. And it proved to be just what they knew. And never feel alone. I broke the boy down when he got the news. Staring at a man he's scared to lose, he cried. Daddy, I can't live without you in my life. Oh, man smiled and wiped his face. Said even when we have to leave this place, we're tied. Couldn't cut me loose from our love if they tried. And you should know we're made to hold and never break the line. It's okay to let me go. I see you surely down the road. It's okay to let me go.